Yar har har, young scallywag. We have a new heroic dragon in the game, and today I'm going to be showing you how you can get this dragon free to play. So yeah, you don't have to spend money to get your hands on heroic dragons, and you don't even have to come first in the race. But this is the brand new High 7 dragon, which is basically a pirate bulb, and it is a heroic that has wind, war, lightning, and chaos. And I think the last element there is the one that interests a lot of people. But it is the same as usual with these heroic races. If you come first, you can get the dragon and all of the other reward dragons from this event, such as Vibrant, the Sky King, or the Icicle Spear dragons. But you can also guarantee the heroic dragon if you get up to lap number 15. And so that is realistically going to be the best way to get this heroic dragon, by getting up to lap 15, because then it doesn't matter where anyone else on the ranking comes, you can at the very least get your hands on this dragon. And since this is my second heroic race, and we did get my first ever one easily, honestly, free to play, I did want to share some of the ways that we can actually make a lot of these easier. You can see that I'm on lap 4, node 2 at the moment, and paying attention to which lap and node and which particular mission you're on is really important. And one fantastic site, there are a couple of them that you can use, but in my Discord server, I do have this posted in the DC event guide section, this Ditlep page of the heroic race. I highly recommend clicking this and always having it open while you play this event, because you can go and find it on the main page of Ditlep, but if we take a look at this event on here, it shows you every single reward, but it also shows you every single mission on every single lap and how long you have to wait. So this is an invaluable resource while you're going through this event. But right now on lap 4, node 2, I'm up to this part where we have to do a few fights. And I'm going to pick this dragon to do this fight because the fights themselves are really easy. The problem is between each fight, for example, we have to wait a set amount of time, like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it might be. The others were 15 minutes, the final one here is a 30-minute timer. We could skip it for 3 gems. You can also skip it on here for 3 gems as well. And rather than waiting 30 minutes, I'm actually going to skip this one. And this is an important thing to note about skipping the final fights on these particular missions, because some of these get up to really high timers, but they don't actually cost very much to gem. And considering the fact that we can get gems free to play by playing the events, it is a very viable way of actually getting the missions done very quickly so that you don't have to be waiting all the time. And now moving on to lap 4, node 3, which if we check the Ditlep page, we would have known that this one was coming up. And next time we're going to have feeding dragons and collecting gold to do, which I'll also go through in a second. But coming back to this is also another really difficult one, because this one here is relating to league battles. And now for some people, league battles are very, very easy. Sometimes, depending on your progress, they might be incredibly difficult. And I'm at that stage where league fights are actually becoming doable now, especially if I have Winstons. But at the same time, some of them are just very, very troublesome. I do have a reset that I could use here, and I can also refill at the same time to get this done. But league fights, realistically, you need to get into a good spot where you can do all of them. So that's going to mean having a really good team put together. But not everyone can do that. So if you are at a point where you are just stuck on these league fights, the only other thing that you can really do is skip them using gems, which is the reason that you should save up your gems for heroic races, so that you can spend them mainly, honestly, on the league battles and the previous mission that I just showed you. But one other thing that you can do if you are sort of stuck on timers when it comes to things like league battles is you can use this fantastic little booster spin. And this won't always pay out, but sometimes this can be incredibly useful. I'm going to use it right now because otherwise we're going to have to wait at least 40 minutes. And we get a +1, which is honestly not that useful to us. But that does mean that we have one less league battle that we have to do in the event. So rather than us having to do 4 of them, we only have to do another 3. And so you can use that sometimes. Even if you get the worst one, you can at least do it so that you can reduce the amount that you have to gem. These league battles in particular were the ones that caused me the biggest problem by far during the previous heroic race, and it's going to be the same for this one probably, because again, there's not only the fact that the league fights are going to be difficult in themselves, but you've also got to wait for the timers, and the timers are super long on these. Again, we could refill and go crazy to try and finish this one, but this one's a bit of a struggle to finish this fight anyway. But that's what you can do. Just save up your gems and use them on the league fights if there's something that you can't do naturally. The other ones, like I said, we've got feeding dragons and I don't think that's right, collecting gold. And now these ones are super easy, but one thing to note is that there is a minimum time stated on these. So you can collect up to 10 for the feeding dragons beetles, and you can collect 9 of the collecting golds, and then you're gonna have to wait 15 minutes for new items to spawn. Now, the problem with this is that when it states the amount of items that you can get per pool, apparently when you do collect the actual items from that pool, it means that the wait timer fully resets. Meaning that if you say collect 1 item after you've waited a little bit of time, then the full wait time is going to come back. So what you want to do in these instances is collect all 10 of the items and all 9 of the collect golds, and then wait the full amount of time and then come back and collect all of the remaining items. That's the best thing to do, really. But how do you actually do these? There's also a chance that's actually written on here. And the collecting gold one could be a little bit of a struggle, and I actually did time this in the last event. What you can do with collecting gold is you could just sit there clicking the collect button over and over and over again. But that's actually not a very good idea, because I did actually sit here clicking and clicking and clicking repeatedly when this task was available, and it was actually faster, because it was faster to wait until the gold symbol was actually over my habitats and click then to get my item, rather than just sitting there clicking the same habitat over and over again. If you had a super high gold earning habitat, it might be slightly different, but generally speaking, it's actually going to be faster during those tiers to just wait until you've got a substantial amount of gold there. Because one other thing about these heroic races that isn't immediately obvious is the fact that even though it states that there's a chance to collect an item, the higher the timer is that you've actually clicked on, or the higher the value of your farm that you've collected from, the higher the chances that you're going to be given an item. So for instance, if we've got more gold in a habitat and we click collect, it's actually going to have a higher chance of giving us an item compared to if we stay there and clicking over and over again with a low value. So it's best to just, if you know that that quest is coming up, not collect your gold, and then just wait until you get to that next mission and then collect from your habitat. So it might require you to be a little less optimal than you would be usually, but it's better to just leave it. That way you don't have to wait. And it's the same thing with food, except food is slightly different in the sense that rather than us waiting, it's actually better to put in the shortest food timer in the game, which is going to be, in this case, the 30-second bluebell bouquets, or bluebell flowers. And I'd say that probably in 90% of your farms you should be popping these in, and as in regrow all of them. So make sure you don't put in any super long timers unless you're going to sleep. But it is the same in the sense of if you use longer timer food, you will have a higher chance of getting an item from it. So if you're going to go and sleep and then come back to collect items, you can basically guarantee that you're going to get the food collecting points via doing that. But if you have a food quest that comes up, like we will do after these league battles are done, then it's actually just better to pop in these super short timers in all of your farms and then just keep clicking regrow for all of them. Because it is a relatively small chance, but at the same food for collective food, it's 10%, and we've got quite a lot of farms, and it's every 30 seconds, so it gets done pretty quickly, to be honest. It does get more troublesome in the later laps and missions, because as we go through each of these nodes, the quests themselves do take longer, because like for collecting food we might have to collect 50 food or 70 food rather than just 12, so the event gets more difficult in that sense. The further in that you go, the more of each type of quest you're going to have to do per node. So that's why knowing the best ways to handle like the food collecting and the hatching and things like that, that's why it's important to get that down earlier rather than later. And then we've also got the quests with breeding dragons as well, and it's the same sort of concept, how every time you every time you breed an egg, which is when you actually place it into the hatchery itself, you will have a chance of getting a breeding item from that. But if you were to, say, put in a longer breed, and like this one over here was a 16-hour breed, you're gonna have I believe it's actually guaranteed over a certain time frame to get an item, but if the timer is like a 4-hour timer, it's going to be a higher chance than just using the actual best breed that you should be going with, which is actually Terra plus Terra. Of all the times to want a common dragon, you should always have at least 2 Terra dragons available, and it's not just for heroic races, it also works for the other events as well, because the reason why you want to breed these two together and make sure that you can't breed any Empower exclusives using them, the reason you want to do these is because the only possible breed is for another Terra dragon, which has the super short 15-second breeding time, which means that you could even have 4 Terra dragons, and you could breed one in that breeding den and breed one in that breeding den and just keep breeding and breeding, because again, there is only a chance of you getting an item from breeding them together. I believe it's 10% again, which means that sometimes you might have to breed 20 times before you get a single item. So having more breeds happening in multiple dens means that you're going to be wasting less time. It does also mean that you're going to have to also have the hatchery slots available, so don't be popping in any long timers for eggs or anything like that, and try and avoid going for super long breeding times when you're in the middle of the heroic races. Maybe you could keep doing it with one of your breeding dens, but the others realistically should be reserved for the actual event breeding. That is if you want to get the event done quickly, which, why would you not want to? There are some great rewards in this event. I mean, obviously, there's a heroic, but on top of it, if you go beyond the heroic, and there's other event stuff as well, if you go beyond the heroic, you could get yourself, like, a mythical egg. If you pay to win a little bit, you could get some heroic orbs for the high 7 dragon. You could even get a titan egg, but you'd have to, like, super be optimal, or just, like, jamming everything to get up to here. But it is possible. It is possible. There's also the outfit for anyone that is super willing to pay for that. But, you know, if you want to do stuff free to play, it's definitely still possible, but you have to have your gems ready, which is the reason why I haven't spent my gems on the final hatchery upgrade, because even though this would be fantastic, I don't think we actually need 6 hatchery slots. I think 5 is a really good point. I might buy this after the event's over, but, you know, it's just, it makes things a little bit faster. So eventually you'll want to buy that, just maybe not straight away. But that is the tactic for breeding. Just keep breeding over and over and over again until you give yourself the item. But sometimes people get confused with this, because since there's only a chance of you getting given an item when you breed, sometimes people assume that maybe they're getting unlucky and that's why they're not getting an item. But sometimes it's actually the fact that you've hit the maximum amount of items that you can collect for that time frame. And people don't realize this sometimes, and so they'll sit there breeding and breeding and breeding, but actually you've already hit the max amount of items for now, and you have to wait a little bit longer. So that's why getting up the Ditlep site, going to the lap and the mission that you're on is so important, because like we've got breeding dragons on lap 5 node 1, and there is no wait time. So we can just breed as much as possible to get all 6 of those items, and then we can move on. Whereas sometimes you're going to have it where breeding does actually have a wait timer on it. So that's another thing to be very mindful of when you're using this. We do also have hatching eggs, and it's going to be the same concept, Terra Dragon eggs, or if you've got super long hatching times going on after you sleep and you wake up and you come to do the quest, then you can basically guarantee yourself that item for every single hatch that you do. But those are the main quests that we've got. We've got the breeding, we've got collecting food, we've got collecting gold, we've got feeding dragons, league battles, hatching eggs, and battling. The main ones that are probably going to cause you problems if you're prepared in terms of, you know, Terra plus Terra breeding and hatching and super short food timers, it's going to be the league battles and the battles, like the regular battles. The regular battle dragons, it's usually a good idea to skip that final fight like I mentioned before. League battles, some people can do them, some people can't based on a number of different reasons. Like I got ruined because I had a really old account, and obviously the game got updated a lot since I used to play, so my player level was screwy basically with really bad dragons, so it made league battles pretty much impossible. But now that is not the case, and I can actually do some of the fights. But again, you can also check all the way up to say lap 10 to prepare yourself for what lap 10's gonna look like. It's gonna be the same quests, but you'll notice that for collect food, it's 39. And there is no wait timer on that one, but feeding dragons is 65. And I didn't actually mention about feeding dragons in this one, but feeding dragons is also super easy. Get yourself some Terra dragons, pop them in a habitat, feed them up. You don't have to waste your resources, you don't have to waste a lot of time getting most of these heroic race quests done. It's just particular quests that will cause the biggest time waste. And if you want to be coming first so that you can get all the rewards guaranteed, that is how you have to do it. I'm not going to be spending any money. The only thing I'm going to do is spend my natural gems that I've accumulated through the last couple of weeks, because this is like 2 weeks worth of gems, which I did not think I'd get that many in 2 weeks, to be honest with you. But 300-ish gems should be enough to get this event done, even if I'm not fully optimal. But, you know, when we get to like lap 10 node 3, we've got battle dragons. We're going to have 6 battles. We're going to have wait timers, and because of the wait timers between each fight, this quest can take 13 hours, 20 minutes as a minimum. So if you actually waited that amount of time and had other things to do, it will be a lot longer than 13 hours. So it's better to just, you know, do all of these quests instantly, get up to this one, try and get this instantly done, either with that slot machine or via gemming. That is the primary one to focus on to use your gems. Then we're going to have league battles, collecting food again, hatching eggs, and breeding dragons. And like lap 10 node 5, that's when we have a wait timer on the breeding, because we've only got a max pool of 5, and then you're going to have to wait another 32 minutes before you can collect the 6th item. So if you've ever played a heroic race before, it's basically going to be the exact same thing. There's nothing special about this one in particular that I can see. So if you've played them before, hopefully you have a good basis to go off of. But by the time you're getting up to lap 15, well, let's say lap 14, you're going to be collecting 56 food per mission, 83 feeding dragons, 44 collect golds. And like this point with the collecting golds is where it's going to be really, really annoying, because sitting there just clicking your habitats over and over again, trust me, it's not as good as just waiting half an hour and collecting from your habitats when there's more. You'll get more items by doing that. I could potentially show you the exact recording of me doing that again, but that's how it worked out. It was less, or it was slower for me to sit there collecting like this. It was better to just wait. But that is assuming that they haven't changed any of the numbers, which I assume they have not. But I hope for the most part that gives you some idea of how to do every single one of these quests. That's how I did it last time. That's how I've been doing other events. That's how I'm going to keep doing it. And hopefully we should be able to get our hands on another new heroic, which shouldn't be too bad for like 2 months of playing. But the other thing to remember while we're in the middle of this event is that we're also going to have ads going on. And the reason why these ads are really important is because we've also got event stuff ongoing at the moment. So for instance, we've got the Rulers of the Sky collection. And this was something that I didn't really focus on for like the first month of me playing this game, these actual collections. Because you'll notice that we've got these particular items, like the gunpowder barrels. And I got 3 of these from the ad earlier. And when we get 6 of these, we're going to get any of these rewards out of the chest. So we could get up to 50 gems, which would be fantastic. But we could also get heroic orbs and other stuff. And that's what we get for getting 6 of them. But if we can collect 5 of these, and we can also collect the golden feather, from this one, we can actually get orbs of a particular heroic. In this case, the High Spirits Dragon. So, as important as the heroic race is, it's also kind of important if you want to get other heroics to focus on these collections as well. And so, the way that they get these other items is going to be through the various events that are going to be coming up. So we're going to have like Runner and stuff like that coming. So, it's another thing that you have to be aware of while you're doing these heroic races. And then, for instance, this one requires a lot of different items, including the egg from the heroic race, the golden egg. So we're going to have the golden egg, we're going to have the golden feather, and then we're going to have the gunpowder barrels as well, in order to get potentially up to 50 heroic orbs, which is actually pretty huge. But it might not be 50 heroic orbs, it might just be 100 epic orbs, which would be really bad. But that's why trying to get these done is so important. This one, I don't know if it's possible to do free to play, to be honest. It seems unlikely because of the amount of gunpowder barrels. But if you were to be able to do this one, you can guarantee yourself a Titan egg, which means you basically get a Titan. So usually these are pay to win only, or like really high spend only is what I should say, because you can just save up the gems to do these quests as well sometimes. But usually you have to be doing every single event like fully optimally, sometimes skipping some of the mini quest fights as well, because we do get special quest battles to do that give us special items as well every now and then. Usually during every event that's going on, we have that happen actually. But it's just another part of all this heroic stuff that you should be very aware of. And just in general, even outside of heroic races, we also get those collections. And honestly, it's something that I personally didn't spend enough, or I didn't pay enough attention to before, and I just kind of was like, yeah, event items, I don't really care about them. Now I do care about them quite a lot. So yeah, that was silly old me. But, you know, it's part of learning how this game works, collecting the new stuff, but getting your hands on these heroics, even if people don't see, say, High 7 as being a particularly fantastic heroic, it's still a heroic. And especially if you don't have any other heroics yet, getting a heroic doesn't matter who it is. It is much better than just using random epics. And most legends, it's gonna be better than most legends that you pick up as well. So, highly recommend that you try and get your hands on High 7. And again, even if you're not gonna come first in your total ranking leaderboard, at least try and get to lap 15. And if you get a super easy leaderboard, maybe you're going against bots because it's your first ever heroic race, then you'll actually probably get a really easy one. And at the same time, just remember that you have to reach lap 5 to qualify for any of the rewards. So please, at least get to lap 5 by the end of the event. Otherwise, you're just going to miss out on rewards for no reason. So you might as well do it. But that was a lot of talking. I hope that for the most part it made sense. But again, the league battles in particular are going to be a pain for a lot of people, and it's mainly just the battles. The battles are the problem. Not actually doing the battles usually, it's the timers on the battles are the problem. So I do wish you the very best of luck. I hope that your league fights are nice and kind. I've got another 16 minutes to wait for mine, and then hopefully we can win this one and then get the whole board reset. I could just reset it anyway, but you know, I got a couple of different opportunities to potentially get this fight done, and just saw me level up my Morpheus just because I want the best chance possible of being able to do the fights. Normally I wouldn't level up Morpheus, especially if we potentially got a heroic on the way, but if it means that I can get the league battles done a little bit more reliably, I'm gonna do it. But anyway, I wish you the best. Hope that helped. And feel free to leave me a comment if you are still confused about anything. But very best of luck.